welcome back to another episode of the Go Tops Pod. I am joined by my co-host Alex and Nathan, and we are excited to be joined tonight by our special guest Nick Thelmeny, our Notre Dame insider. How are you boys doing tonight?
Good.
Very good.
So I just wanted to start off by giving a correction to something I said in the last episode. I said Cole Van Lanen was a Madison product. He's actually from Green Bay. I don't know why I said that. I know they had a Monona Grove tackle that played on the team a couple of years ago. Reminded me a lot of him. I can't think of his name. I know he had to medically retire. But anyways, just wanted to point that out. Before we dive into some of the past games, just want to give a quick primer on some of the games from some of the teams we've been watching, especially coming up. Friday night, Idaho State plays Sagu American Indian College. Saturday, Western Kentucky plays Alabama. Sunday, the Vikings and the Bears play. And Friday and Saturday, Rider will play Iona in that special MAC Friday, Saturday setup that they've got. So anything any of you are excited to see out of these games?
Hopefully the Vikings beating the Bears.
Hopefully, yeah, the Vikings do beat the Bears. The Bears need a better draft position at this point. We need a quarterback.
Maybe the Bears can have Kirk Cousins.
There we go. I like that.
Okay, and then also just wanted to point out, we've got, I think we'll end up doing something on Monday, but just a quick bowl game. Wanted to talk about, I guess it will be on Monday, but we've got the Myrtle Beach Bowl. We've got Appalachian State versus North Texas. That's the first one. The Frisco Bowl, which is supposed to be Saturday, was canceled with some COVID issues in the Southern Methodist program. Their game versus UTSA was canceled. They did not look to reschedule another team in there. So I guess let's get started off with some of our favorite games that we have seen in the past.
All right, on Monday Night Football, the Ravens beat the Browns 47-42. This game was a lot more exciting than I thought it was going to be. It highlighted Lamar Jackson maybe having to go to the locker room to poop or maybe having cramps. We don't know. He doesn't say that he had to poop, but I think he did. The way that I saw a video of him running to the locker room, he had to, definitely. But yeah, it was back and forth. Lamar Jackson ended up running in when Trace McSorley went down. It was like some superhero moment or something. He ran out of the locker room and threw a touchdown on the first play back. But yeah, just a really exciting game. Did you guys get to see it?
I did. Yeah, I think he Paul Pierced it. He's denying it though. But it's just, yeah, you don't run like that when you're cramping. I mean,
that's a waddle that's only used for one motion.
Exactly. So it was awesome. Tough to see Trace McSorley go down like that. Just kind of a non-contact injury, but Lamar came off the sideline and he won it on the pass to Marquise Brown, and then Baker drove back and then gave him just too much time. Justin Tucker could make from 80 if he needed to. So good win. And it's good to see the Browns kind of back like this. They're a fun team to watch. They've got plenty of players, and it's weird to see them better without OBJ. So I don't know what that means. Is OBJ headed somewhere else? I don't know. We'll see.
Going off that Browns point, they do have Cody Parkey, and I am a very big Bears fan. And Cody Parkey missed an extra point and a field goal in that game.
Ooh.
And it is great to see him doing what he does best for other teams.
Yeah, he is the bearer of joy for everybody except for the Double Doink fans.
Yes.
But I'm a fan of the Double Doink. I think
Me
you guys
too.
are all fan of the Double Doink.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So, but we're also a fan of Blair Walsh in Seattle. So,
Ooh, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it's good. I don't even want to talk about that one. We're just going to talk about future game. We're going to move on before we talk about Blair Walsh. So Gonzaga, number 1 Gonzaga versus number 3 Iowa. Of course, I'm talking about Iowa. But this is actually a big game on Saturday at 11 a.m. I am very, very scared as an Iowa fan for this game. It's interesting to see if Iowa can shoot like how they have been, if Luka can keep up what he's doing, 29 points a game. The current odds are Iowa -1, which scares me. I kind of wish they were the underdog coming into this game because I feel like they play better that way. Yeah, I'm just scared, but I'm sure you guys have better analysis on that.
I don't really have a ton of analysis. I just think this is going to be a heck of a basketball game, and if you can tune in, it's going to be fun. biggest game of the season so far, I think, for all of college basketball.
Yeah, I would say you really have a slugfest because you have Garza at Iowa, but Iowa doesn't have the depth that Gonzaga has. Gonzaga can go 9-10 deep with almost any team in the country, and their guys coming off their bench would start most of these other places that are in the top 25.
Yeah, I know the transfer Andrew Nemhard from Florida, immediately eligible at Gonzaga, and he's probably an all conference guard at most places, and he's coming off the bench as their sixth man. So it just kind of shows what Gonzaga has right now. Interested to see how Gonzaga does coming off their COVID break and if their conditioning is any worse. But as Nick said, when you can go 9-10 deep and the conditioning might not be as much of an issue.
It's a heck of a way to come back.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I just wish it wasn't at 11 a.m. I mean, there's football games on, just put it on noon CB, I guess. I don't know. Put it at 9 a.m.
Wow.
Let's all see it at 9 a.m.
There you go. Yeah.
Night game.
Nathan won't be awake by then, though.
No, I'll be at work at 9 a.m. actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I'll miss it no matter what. But yeah, well, if Iowa wins this game, obviously that's huge for them. If they don't win this game, then it doesn't really matter because it's still number one Gonzaga unless they lose by 40. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm just going to throw it straight to Nick after I announce the game because I know he has a lot to say about this game. Number 3 Clemson versus number 2 Notre Dame. Go ahead.
Okay, Notre Dame, Clemson, the rematch, part 2. Could be a part 3 this year. Notre Dame won the first game in overtime in South Bend. This game, however, is going to be played in Charlotte. And another big factor, Trevor Lawrence is going to be back. The most likely, most for sure number 1 pick since Andrew Luck, I guess you could argue, in the NFL draft, almost a guarantee. He didn't play last time. However, DJ Uiagalelei, I think that's how you pronounce it, played.
Nice pronunciation.
Thank you very much. Played as well as you could as making your first start on the road. I mean, he's a 5-star quarterback. He's from St. John Bosco Prep out in California, which is a renowned program. So he's played in big games before, as is Lawrence. But the main difference that I have been hearing and that everyone has been talking about is the run game with Lawrence. DJ had a bad shoulder, so they weren't able to run that read option that they love to do with Travis Etienne. And Travis Etienne ran for under 40 yards last time they played. Notre Dame was able to contain the run, and therefore Clemson killed him with the passing game. Notre Dame gave up over 400 yards. I think it's going to be a lot different this time because I think Trevor's going to be willing to run the ball because this is their playoff. They need to win this game to get in. If they lose this game, they're not getting in. Trevor has 3 more games left in college. If he wins them all, he wins the national championship. Mm-hmm. I don't see him losing this game. As big of a Notre Dame fan as I am, I would take Clemson.
Yeah, I think a question to ask you, if let's say Notre Dame loses by 24, do you think Notre Dame's still the number 4 seed in the playoff?
I don't see how they're not, because I do not see the committee putting Texas A&M in that 4 spot to play Alabama after what happened when they already played.
Yeah.
I don't see that being a rematch. This is all as if Alabama wins.
Yeah.
If Alabama wins, Notre Dame, I think, still gets the 4 seed. If Alabama loses, who knows what's going to happen? Because at that point, things could get really crazy.
So I guess my homerism, let's say Notre Dame loses by 24. I think the more likely thing is if Clemson loses. I've heard people say if Clemson loses, like they're in still, which just doesn't make any sense because their best win right now is to Miami. And we've seen
Miami beaten because you saw what North Carolina just did
exactly
in Miami last weekend.
So I can't. I mean, if you're putting Clemson in no matter what, then you're putting them in because they're Clemson. And we just we're even more for sure that the playoff is just broken. Yes. I mean, if you're going to pick a year to have kind of a fun playoff, it's going to be this year.
Why not be this year?
Give it to Cincinnati. Give it to Iowa State. I mean, Texas A&M right now, they're hanging their hats on a win versus Florida, and Florida just lost his 23-point underdogs to LSU. So how good is Florida? I mean, so this is the mark of how I know Iowa State's made it, because I log into Twitter and everybody's hating on Iowa State. And I'm just like, oh my God, we've made it. I'm so happy right now. Please hate us, because that means they're good. There's
no better feeling in the world than having your program be hated.
I know.
Everybody else is jealous of you in your conference. And
exactly.
All is always fueled by all your rivals. So
yeah.
Iowa, I'm looking at you. Iowa, Nebraska, those schools like that, when they're on the downward trajectory, there's always going to be another local school that's going to boom way up.
Mhm.
That's just the
Mhm.
way it always goes. And what your question about would Clemson still make the playoffs with 2 losses? My argument would be no, because you still have to put them in over Ohio State. I do not believe they're any good at all because they've held on by their teeth every week, but USC is still getting some consideration because they're undefeated.
Yeah.
I don't think they're any good, but I mean, that quarterback's playing great, and that's all that matters. And the committee values no losses. We've learned that, and they value Power 5 teams. So if you're a Power 5 team with no losses, they're going to love you. After that, they're going to look for conference champions. And the way that they're boosting up both Northwestern and Indiana in the college football playoff rankings tells you a lot about how badly they want Ohio State in there.
Yeah, I think the problem for me is that I think so. Obviously, we're pretty sure Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State are the 4 best teams. I have no issue with that. But the problem is that if Clemson, and we don't know if Clemson does make it as a 2-loss team, I'd be interested to see. And this is just far too radical for them ever to adopt. But what if they were blinded to who the teams were, to the logos, and what if they were given like basically a book about this team and about how they played, and they weren't allowed to use past year biases?
Would you allow them to look at the schedule in which they played?
Oh yeah, I think you have strength of record, strength of schedule, actual schedule.
I think the big difference is I don't think there should be I don't think you should be able to see the schedule. I think you should be able to see your record versus top 10, top 25, and then top 50 teams.
Yeah.
Almost like they do in basketball with the quadrants of wins.
Yeah.
If you beat a Clemson, that should be a tier 1 win. Whereas if you're North Carolina and you lose to Florida State, that should be like a tier 5 loss. Like that's a bad loss. That's gonna hold you way down.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I also feel as if Cincinnati doesn't get in, why don't the group of 5 teams just be like, you know what? Why don't we have our own playoff? And I feel like that would be so exciting. Like if you saw how many viewers that the Coastal Carolina BYU game had, if you have them playing, if you have BYU and San Jose State, who's undefeated out there this year, 6-0. Let's go Spartans. Let's have a great year. But yeah, I mean, I think that would be very exciting. And not only that, but there'd be so many eyes on that. I mean, that BYU Coastal game was on ESPNU, and that was one of the highest rated games so far this season.
Yeah, I know I posed that same question to a group of football fans that I talked to, and one of them was a Cincinnati fan and one was a Louisiana fan. And the gist of it is they didn't like that because it was basically like, oh, you've got the adult table and then you've got the little kid table, and they want to be looked upon as like an adult. And so I think like I've been harping in this 8-team playoff where you have the 5 AQ teams, you have the 1 top group of 5 team, then you have 2 I guess at large bids. So that's protecting you against if like your Alabama loses in the SEC championship, because we see it in college basketball all the time. Like you have a really good team from a small conference go like 30-3, and then they get upset in the conference title game, and then they're in the NIT. And it's just like, would you rather? That's how we get like a 16-15 team in the NCAA tournament instead of a 30-3 team. So it happens, but this is a good way to safeguard it. I guess the other thing that I wanted to bring up with the whole issue with the playoff, and I'm rambling, I apologize, but I've seen a lot of people say Iowa State shouldn't be considered because they lost to Louisiana. But then you have people saying Louisiana should be higher because they beat Iowa State, and you should give more consideration to group of 5 teams. And the issue I have is you can't have it both ways. You're saying, oh, Iowa State needs to be lower because they lost to a sucky team, but also Louisiana is really good, move them up higher. Like, I think like you can only have it one way. You either say Iowa State is out because they lost to a sucky Sunbelt team, or you acknowledge Louisiana is probably a really good team. That's why they're ranked number 19 in the country, and then you move them higher. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I see a definite problem with that. There is the college football playoff. They will first off care about your losses. And then after that, the only way you can jump forward is win until that loss matters again to jump in. Exactly. So that loss, no matter what, is always going to be there. And it's just, I do not agree with the way in which they value Power 5 versus group of 5 teams, because the Power 5, yes, they have all the spending, but that doesn't mean they're a better team. Yeah, they can play in the conference, but that doesn't mean anything. Like I'm sure Like University of Wisconsin Whitewater some years could come down here and beat U of I. University of Illinois is not a great football program. And I'm sure there's some very good FBS and FCS teams that can beat them very easily, but they're not going to get, even if Illinois was 12-0 this year, they would be in consideration for the college football playoff. And that is hysterically sounding. They are not a college football quality team, but they play in a college football quality conference. That's the whole issue with the system.
Yeah. I guess Nate or Alex, do you have anything to say off of our rants?
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State, I'm just gonna go with Iowa State here. It's, you can't have it both ways, but with Iowa State beating Louisiana or losing to Louisiana, that was a bad loss at the time, but now it's a good win for
Good
Louisiana, or good loss.
Good luck.
But yeah,
Good
it goes
win
both
for-
ways.
both
Good win.
ways.
or good loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to sit on that side or which side of the argument, just because I don't want to deal with that Twitter drama. But yeah, anyway, going back to the game we were talking about.
Yes,
Clemson
thank
third
you.
game. Yeah, you're welcome. So Clemson being a 10-point favorite is shocking.
Yes, it is. Considering that Notre Dame won by 7 before, you're telling me that Trevor Lawrence is worth 17.5 points.
Yeah.
One single player. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure about that. I understand the game's a lot closer to home, so give them the 3 points for that. So 14.5 points for one player. I don't know about that. And I mean, if Notre Dame loses, it's not going to be by Trevor Lawrence beating them. It's going to be by Ian Book not getting the plays done. Notre Dame's defense is a top 5 defense in the country. You saw what they did against North Carolina, 3 points in the final 52 minutes, and what North Carolina just did against Miami. Notre Dame's defense this year, their main problem in 2015 and 2018 when they played against Alabama and Clemson was they had a lot of good defensive players, but they didn't have the defensive speed. This year, they finally have linebackers and safeties that can run with these guys. And these defensive linemen, they're not the 300-pound guys anymore. They're 6'5", 250, and they can move. They're setting the edge. They're forcing everything into these linebackers and safeties that are making all these tackles. You have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who's our right outside linebacker. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's about 6 foot, 215 pounds, and he's playing linebacker for us. He's kind of like a smaller Isaiah Simmons. He can fly all over the place. Where Notre Dame, for the first time in my lifetime, has an SEC speed on defense. You've always had the big, like, offensive linemen, and you're always going to have your big tight ends and your one big wide receiver. You never have more than one at Notre Dame, but you never really have a capable defense. You have great coaches. We always have great coordinators that will put our guys in great positions, but you never had the talent. And this year's talent is finally there. But Ian Book has been so good all year long. He's only thrown 2 interceptions. He's thrown one in the opener and one in the final week. I know his bad game is coming. It's just a matter before he crashes and burns. Ian Book is going to be one great backup quarterback in the NFL one day. He's going to make a lot of money being a backup quarterback, but he's not the guy you want to try out there to win you a big time game. He's the guy you try out there to not lose you the game. And that's the issue.
I think the biggest thing for me, I'm really interested to see the quarterbacks are getting a lot of talk, but I'm interested to see the how the rushing attack goes for both teams. Kyren Williams had 140 yards and 3 touchdowns in the meeting earlier on this season. And Travis Etienne, he hasn't lived up to the superstar expectations for this season. But Notre Dame held him to 28 yards and a touchdown on 18 carries last time they played. So can Clemson get some of the pressure off of Trevor Lawrence's shoulders against that Notre Dame defense? I think is going to be big. And can Kyren Williams put up the same type of production to help out Ian Book? Because like you said, if he starts having to force some throws, that's mistake time for Ian Book, which could lead to some trouble for the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up Kyren Williams. I'm not sure how many of you guys watched the game the first time, but even the announcers were enamored with his blitz pickups. The announcers were loving it. I was picking up safeties, linebackers. He's a NFL quality running back in blitz in pass protection, which is a very rare find in college, considering he's also a great runner. He reminds me a lot of Ezekiel Elliott when he was at Ohio State. More of a downhill runner. He's willing to throw his body in there, take a few extra yards to get a hit. But with Kyren Williams, the big issue with him is he's been getting banged up a lot recently, and the fumbles. He's been fumbling a lot. His main thing is if he gets into the open field, a lot of times he'll get hit from behind and that ball will pop out. Notre Dame also has another running back, Chris Tyree, who's a true freshman, and he is a burner. You get him in the open field, he is gone. He hasn't been playing a lot this year because he has a bad hamstring. Notre Dame's, a lot of their skill position players are a lot slower. You got Bennett Skoranek, who's a transfer from Northwestern. You got Joe Wilkins out wide. You have Javon McKinley, who's another 6'4", kind of Chase Claypoolish, but definitely not as a good wide receiver. Clemson's defense is really fast, so Notre Dame is really going to have to rely on their offensive line and just try to pound it down their throat. So yeah, I really think the rush game, this game will be won just like the last one at the line of scrimmage.
Fun matchup to watch too. In the trenches, that's where we like it.
Oh yeah, the big boys up front.
Absolutely.
All right, and we'll move on to another top 4 team. Hopefully this won't spark a whole college football playoff debate again. Number 14 Northwestern versus number 4 Ohio State. Personally, I think Ohio State's just going to roll. That's kind of what they have to do as the number 4 team that's only played 5 games so far. I don't know if I'm just mad at
it. That Iowa is the best team in the Big Ten West, but they're not even there to represent them.
Yes, I do think that 1-point loss at the beginning of the year, oh, that just hurts so much right now.
To be fair, though, I'll just say like Iowa and Northwestern would both get beat by like 50.
Well,
like,
I don't think
whoever, I mean, I would almost like, I know you want to see Iowa play, but like right now, whoever's on the West is the sacrificial lamb. And like let's let it be Northwestern. Let's let them pretend that they have a chance. And then Iowa gets to sit and say, yeah, we won 6 games in a row. Give us a good bowl, while Northwestern just gets slaughtered 70-0. So
yeah,
this could be reminiscent of the Wisconsin-Ohio State Big Ten championship game where the Buckeyes beat them 59-0. I mean, honestly, it could be.
I don't remember that game. I just like totally the Gary Anderson era is just.
I was lucky that was the day I was working, so I was just like, oh, I don't have to watch any of this.
Yeah,
that was the year they because it was Cardell Jones. Let's not go into that one. I don't want to.
Yeah, let's talk about that one more. 59-0.
Hey, easy.
But yeah, this is game. I'd be shocked if Northwestern kept it within 30.
I mean, Northwestern has a good enough defense to make it somewhat respectable, but I don't think that offense can score on them. I would put this somewhere around 49-10, 49-7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 38-10. Northwestern's defense is good enough to at least slow the game down. But they don't have the Ryan Field grass where it's knee high. So they don't have that going for them.
It was an 11 a.m. game in Evanston.
Yeah, they've got
Ohio
on the sidelines.
Ohio State speed in a dome is just, I mean, there's no chance. Like it's going to be bad.
And where you can beat Ohio State is the secondary for Ohio State. And I just don't think Northwestern has like the vertical speed to get downfield against them. So it's not going to be a fun game to watch. So,
nope. All right. So we're going to move on to a few games that I had my eye on this past week. We're going to start in the women's college game. Stanford beat Pacific 104-61. So the score is nothing exciting, but Tara Vanderveer, the head coach for the Stanford Cardinal, she got her 1,099th career win as a head coach, which is just a mind-bogglingly high number of wins. She is now the all-time winningest coach in women's college basketball history, passing Pat Summitt. She began her career coaching in Idaho, and she's won 2 national championships, both before I was born, in 1990 and 1992. So I think that was just a super cool story to see, and watch out for the Cardinal this year. They're ranked number 1 right now. They're going to have a fantastic year. You guys have anything on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the, I know I talked about this in the interview we did today, but really cool. The Gino Auriemma on UConn is also active, and he's like 5 wins behind, I think maybe 6 wins behind.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of fun to see them. I'm not sure how long either of them will continue to coach, but kind of see them battling for this number 1 overall winningest coach. So kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Wednesday night, Purdue beat number 20 Ohio State in men's basketball 67-60. Kind of a good Big Ten matchup of some like kind of middle tier teams. I know Purdue wasn't exactly picked to do well in the conference, but Ohio State, I believe, was somewhere around the 5 or 6 mark, but they're still ranked inside the top 25. So Purdue was able to hold them off and beat them in at home, which is always a tough place to play in Purdue. And I have another Big Ten matchup on here because that's just the way that it worked out this week. But number 19 Rutgers beat Maryland 74-60. This Rutgers team, I think, is going to be formidable to go up against in the Big Ten. So I know we talk a lot about the top of the conference, the Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan State. But I think Rutgers is kind of right there knocking on the door behind that tier. I think this is a really good Scarlet Knights team. And they took care of business against Maryland. They played really well. A player, Ron Harper Jr. for them to watch. He's a junior. He had 27 points against the Terrapins. He shot 5 of 8 from 3. He's just a fun guy to watch. And so is the Scarlet Knight basketball team. So that's definitely a team to keep an eye on. They could make some noise in the Big Ten. They're going to be a tough team to beat for those top teams.
Definitely a fun team to watch, and Ron Harper, been following him since he was a freshman, and good to see the Scarlet Knights back in contention. I know they were a bottom dweller for a while, so good to see them giving the Big Ten some depth. I guess I will move on to some of my games. I'll first stick in with the Big Ten. We'll talk about the number 12 Wisconsin Badgers beating Loyola Chicago last night by a score of 77-63. Game was pretty close up until about 4 minutes into the second half is when the Badgers went on a 19-4 run to take a commanding lead. And then it got a little bit closer in the end, but Wisconsin ended up coasting pretty comfortably. A pretty good game, a lot of foul trouble for Wisconsin, which is just kind of frustrating to see. I mean, just some tic-tac fouls. I know I tweeted, I wanted to know what Micah Potter did to the referees, if he said something mean. What were the reasoning? I mean, he was boxing guys out and they were calling him for fouls. So I was just like, can you not box out in basketball? And I know this has been an issue. I know the Rhode Island game too. Wisconsin had some foul issues as well. And we have good depth, but if you're having the two best bigs on your team both getting in foul trouble, you're going to have an issue against a team like Iowa, a team like Illinois, where they have the bigs to really punish the next level of guys. So I don't know if any of you cut any points in this game.
It was nice to see the balance back a little bit in Wisconsin scoring. They were led by Davison and Trice, both had 17. Micah Potter had 13. Johnny Davis, the freshman, 12 points. He just keeps looking better and better every game. He's going to be a big part of this year's team. And, just typical Wisconsin basketball too. They turned the ball over only 4 times. Loyola turned it over 14. That's just going to do really well for you if you can do that. And the Badgers shot 55% from 3. So, I mean, that's huge. If they can hit shots from outside, it's going to open up the middle for Potter and Reavers, and it's going to be a tough team to beat.
Definitely. I'm excited to see we'll talk about it later, a big game coming up for the Badgers this weekend. We'll go to the Big 12, to the Kansas State versus Iowa State game, really the battle for the worst team in the Big 12, and Iowa State took the L on this one. A pretty disappointing game for the Cyclones. Really from the get-go never got things going. I know they went like 3 minutes in the first half. Kansas State went on a 11-0 run, and that's not going to help anything. They were down by 14 at halftime. They battled back a little bit, but 14 is a lot of points to come back from. So pretty disappointing to see the Cyclones here. Just not a whole lot of identity. I know there were we talked about it before, some good points to take away from the Iowa versus Iowa State game in the first half. Really hoping that they had kind of formed a new identity and could use those points in this game, but we didn't see it. So they play West Virginia next, number 8 West Virginia. So it's not going to get any easier. So it's just really disappointing to see this game, and you wonder what the future is like in Ames for the men's basketball program.
Yeah, this one shocked me. Like you said, their first half against Iowa was actually impressive. Mm-hmm. And I knew they weren't good, but I thought they were better than Kansas State, who lost to a D2 team.
Yeah.
Fort Hays State.
Yeah. And yeah, I was not expecting them to lose to Kansas State, especially, I mean, Kansas State dominated this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not a good look.
No, not at all. Not at all. And the last game that I have is Marquette beat number 9 Creighton. A nice win for Marquette, their second top 10 win of the season. DJ Carton with 20 points. And I think for me, DJ Carton, the transfer from Ohio State, the 5-star, really the guy that's gotten Marquette going. I know they're a young team, but I know when it was the Wisconsin game was the first game that he had started. He had been coming off the bench prior, and he's just kind of a lightning bolt for them. He gets buckets. He's awesome to watch, except when he's playing Wisconsin. But I think Marquette, the ceiling for them is so much higher in the Big East now, because you've got a guy like that. I mean, this is a 5-star, like top level guy. And now we're seeing that. And I think Marquette's just a force to be reckoned with. And I just, from when the season started, you lose Marcus Howard to now you have just another elite player to kind of take the game over when you need him to. So great win for Marquette. I mean, I don't think there's another team in the country that has 2 top 10 wins. So it's time to rank Marquette. And that also this makes Wisconsin's loss look a lot better. So thank you for that. So any points from you guys on this game?
Yeah, I was literally about to say this doesn't just make Marquette look good. It makes Wisconsin look good too.
Mm-hmm. Quality losses.
This is like, now that's a great loss, especially to a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Coach Wojo, Steve Wojciechowski is doing a great job in Marquette, as much as I hate to say it and hate to see Marquette doing well. They're going to be a tough out for anybody in March. They're a good basketball team.
Yep. Just a lot of depth for them.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're moving on to some games this weekend. On Saturday at 2:30, we're going to get to the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers facing the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. Coastal Carolina is a 3.5-point favorite. They beat the Ragin' Cajuns earlier this season. Coastal Carolina is currently ranked number 12. A win for the Chants would potentially move them into the top 10 and put them in a very good position for a good bowl game. I've been really excited to watch Coastal Carolina all season. I think they're a great story. They're a really fun team to watch. They only beat the Ragin' Cajuns by 3 in their previous matchup in mid-October, so it's going to be a really good matchup. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this game. I'm just really excited to watch these two teams play again.
Yeah, I think this is really good for the Sun Belt too. This is a number 19 versus number 10 team. Everyone's gonna be watching. I mean, you could say this game is better than the Pac-12 championship. Like these two teams are probably better than both of the teams in that game. So just awesome to see for the Sun Belt to get this kind of game, and hopefully whoever wins gets some respect. I don't think it's going to happen, but the winner of this game is in serious play for a near six bid. I know Cincinnati's there too, but hopefully they get some love, because they are just 2 awesome football teams. As we talked about earlier, I think you just got to give both these teams a lot of respect. They're playing awesome seasons, and their game back in October, I remember the game, and it was crazy too. So just hoping for some fun in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Coastal's having a great year, and I mean, what else is going really unheralded is the fact that they're starting a true freshman quarterback through all this. Like no one's talking about that, and on top of that, they've been elite 11 quarterback coming in as a recruit. I mean, how often do you hear about an elite 11 guy going to Coastal Carolina? So that really does show you that success brings better players, and it really does. It helps right away to win.
Yeah. I think honestly, this is probably one of the top 3 or 4 conference championship games. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, something like the Big Ten one, I don't think is going to be a great matchup. I mean, outside of the ACC and the Big 12 conference championship games in the SEC, this might be the next best one. So moving on to Sunday, or actually Saturday night, we have some NFL action on Saturday. The Green Bay Packers will face the Carolina Panthers. The Packers are currently an 8.5-point favorite. And Aaron Rodgers so I saw the stat the other day. He is the only quarterback in NFL history with a 40 touchdown season with less than 8 interceptions. He's done it twice, And if he throws for a touchdown on Saturday night, which is a pretty good bet that he will have his third season of such stats. He's currently sitting at 39 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. I think Christian McCaffrey is not playing, if I saw that correctly. So, I mean, I think Green Bay is going to kind of romp over the Panthers. It's at Lambeau, prime time Saturday night game. I don't really think it's going to be too close. I think the Packers will win by 2 touchdowns. Anybody have anything on this one?
I just wanted to say that stat line is ridiculous. 39 and 4. I mean,
Yeah,
and
it's nuts.
If you take out the Tampa Bay game, I think he'd be at like 38 and 2. So I just I know us Packer fans were so privileged because like all we've known for our entire lives is Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers with a little bit of Matt Flynn. But I think he's got to be the MVP favorite.
Especially after Mahomes' game last weekend.
Yeah. And I know I've been listening to people. I think so. Rodgers is what, 37 right now?
Yeah, I think he just turned 37.
So I think you have to give him some love for doing that in his late age. I mean, where are the people that are like, I mean, I guess the front office is those people, but they was the first round pick good because we got this kind of year out of Rodgers? I mean,
I said at the beginning, if this lights a fire under him and he plays like he can, totally worth it to me. So I really think so.
It's amazing to see. Yeah, I think with this game with Noah McCaffrey and Teddy Bridgewater really not playing as well as he has in recent weeks, I don't think this one's going to be super close. I think it's super important for the Packers, obviously, for the seeding purposes, so that the Saints play the Chiefs this weekend. And especially if they lose that one and the Packers win this one, then the Packers would have to lose out in order to relinquish that number 1 overall seed because they have the tiebreaker head to head. So this game's really important to win to make sure that they're in position to get the first round bye.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he has an outside shot. Rodgers does of throwing 50 touchdowns. He would need 11 over 3 games, which is definitely doable. That would just be insane. Hopefully Devontae Adams continues his hot streak, although, maybe just tamper it down a little bit because I am facing EJ this week in the playoffs of our fantasy football league. So hopefully Rodgers goes off. Adams, has a good day.
I just wanted to point out how ridiculous his projected stat lines in fantasy are becoming. Right now, he's projected to net me like 25.4 points.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's insane.
He might be one of the best players. I mean, he is. I mean, he might be the number 1 player in fantasy this season. So he's crazy. So.
Yeah. So another NFL matchup this weekend that I have my eye on is the Washington football team they're at home versus the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle's a 5.5 point favorite. That is, I mean, you would have expected that to be a lot higher earlier on. Washington quietly has won 4 in a row. I was even a little surprised to see that myself when I looked. Seattle is coming off a 40-3 thumping of the New York Jets. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. Washington's defense is legit. Chase Young is a stud. And Russell Wilson has been struggling as of late. So this is going to be a fun one to watch. Try to put some respect on the NFC East. I think that's the football team's plan, but we'll see. This is going to be a fun game to watch, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to trust the Seahawks after they lost to Colt McCoy and the Giants a couple of weeks ago. I mean, they beat the Jets 40-3, but everyone's beat the Jets this year, literally. So can't really even look at that one. But Washington beat the unbeaten Steelers. They really could win this game and be 7-7, and all of a sudden the NFC East jokes kind of go out the window.
This does hinge a little bit on Alex Smith and Antonio Gibson are both questionable. So that would be a huge hit to Washington. But if they can go, it's going to be a good one.
I mean, Washington for sure isn't playing a so-called fun brand of football. I mean, they play really good defense. They run the ball and they don't turn the ball over. I mean, they're really just doing all of the very simple things and doing them all well. They don't have a great quarterback. They have no really star players on any side of the ball. Chase Young's still a rookie, but they've really come together as a team. And they've really bonded together on their coach as well. I mean, Ron Rivera is doing a great job on Washington.
Yeah, what a great story he's been.
Yeah, and I think in order to win the NFC East, you just need to not beat yourself. because they are just I looked it up. I was reading a story yesterday, like the worst divisions in football, and like one of the worst divisions in football was the NFC East last year. So this is just a bad run for the NFC East. But and Washington can win this just by playing smart football. I do like Terry McLaurin for the Washington football team. He's a fun wide receiver, second year guy. And then I think is it JD McKissick is doing pretty well as a kind of a backup running back, a bit of a running back by committee for Washington. And then Chase Young has just been a monster the past couple of weeks. So I think this one could be fun and interested to see how good Seattle is, because I know they were like the team to beat in the NFC a few weeks ago. So interested to see there. I will move on to some of my games. First up, we've got Iowa State's number 6 against number 10 Oklahoma in the Dr. Pepper Big 12 Championship on Saturday at 11. It just happens to be the same time as the Iowa basketball game. So probably 2 screens for this one. I know Oklahoma is a 5.5 point favorite, even though Iowa State beat them earlier in the season. Everyone loves Oklahoma. Everyone wants Oklahoma to lose by 80 in the first round of the college football playoff, I guess. It's just really exciting for people. So I'm really excited to see this one, just to see where Iowa State has come in the past couple of years under Matt Campbell. When he took over in 2015, we were one of the worst teams in college football, Power 5 or G5, couldn't win 4 games in a season. And now we're 8-2, 8-1 in conference, and both losses to ranked teams. So great to see where they are now. Brock Purdy is playing awesome. I think Breece Hall, he's got 1,300 yards and 17 touchdowns this season. So really got to be in the running for the Heisman, even though everyone just wants quarterbacks in there. I think you have to give it him some love as one of the top running backs with a couple other guys. So any picks or predictions or thoughts from any of you?
I think this game's going to be a lot closer. I think it's going to be one possession game. Everyone wants Oklahoma. Like you said, I don't know why they want them just to get destroyed in the playoff. But Iowa State's good. It really hurts me to say that out loud, but Iowa State's a really good football team this year. And
someone clip that.
No, don't clip that. And bring back to the Twitch days. But yeah, Iowa State's a good team. I think I just don't want to see Oklahoma win, but I got Iowa State with the upset in this game. Upset. Kind of. I mean, the rankings don't show that, but the spread shows that.
Oklahoma is a 5.5 point favorite, so it would be in that way. I think it's going to be really important for Iowa State to control the ball and keep Oklahoma's offense off the field, and that starts with Breece Hall. If he can have a big day, I think the Cyclones are set up very well to defeat Oklahoma and have an outside shot of getting that 4 seed. A lot of stuff would have to happen for that to occur, but yeah, I just really hope that it's just not another Oklahoma team winning the Big 12 and then going and getting smoked in the playoff.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that say, Oklahoma's playing great football. They're not the team they were when they played Oklahoma. But I just want to point out the last 3, Iowa State's won 5 in a row. They beat West Virginia 42-6. They beat number 17 Texas at Texas 23-20. They beat Kansas State 45-0. They had a closer game than they should have against Baylor 38-31. And they beat Kansas 52-22. So their games haven't really been close, and they've been playing better football. Brock Purdy's been looking a lot better. Taking care of the football is a really big thing. You just don't want those wasted possessions, especially with how quickly Oklahoma can score. I think defensively, Iowa State's quite a bit better than Oklahoma. You've got some great players, Mike Rose, Isheem Young on the back end for Iowa State. So I'm really excited to see this one, and really hoping they can keep Matt Campbell in the fold. I know they tend to back up the Brinks truck for him and give him whatever he wants. So just blank check time. So really excited to see this one. Sucks that it's at the same time as the other fun one. And we'll move on to Wisconsin, which guess what time they play Louisville? They played 11 a.m. We've got
all happening at the same time.
How many screens do you got?
I've got 18 screens.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, we've got number 12 Wisconsin playing number 23 Louisville, and kind of a remake of the Big Ten ACC Challenge. This game was canceled. Louisville had to pause for some COVID issues that they were having within the team. Really excited to see this game. Just kind of a great opponent for Wisconsin before they start their Big Ten play, and just kind of excited to see what they can do against another for sure good team. I know they've had a pretty good stretch recently with some quality opponents, but just excited to see what they can do against a pretty good ACC team. So any thoughts from any of you on this one?
It's just I'm really interested to see Wisconsin get up against another really good quality opponent. I'm just looking at some of the team stats. It's eerily similar. Wisconsin averages 77.7 points a game, Louisville 77.8. Wisconsin gives up 59.8, Louisville gives up 58.0. They both rebound about 36 to 38 rebounds a game. It's kind of nuts, like reading these stat lines. But this is going to be a really good test for Wisconsin. Try to get all five guys kind of in sync at one time, and then see how Johnny Davis, the freshman, does against some better quality opponents. That'll be a big game for him to see how he'll do in those kind of matchups.
Definitely agree there. I think also another interesting thing to see with this one is Louisville's last game was 15 days ago from when we're recording on Wednesday night. So it will be 18 days since their last game. So it's another one just like the Gonzaga game. What's their conditioning like? A lot of these guys, when they're quarantined, they're locked in hotel rooms by themselves. You can't exactly do cardio in there. So interested to see how they handle that, and interested to see if Wisconsin can finally play better. It still feels like they have not put together a full performance this season. And when they start playing these quality teams, they're going to need that. They can't have four people having an off night and one guy leading the team. It just isn't going to work like that. The Big Ten is way too good this year. Last game that I've got is a fun one. We've got the battle of Virginia versus Villanova. It's a 7 versus 17 matchup. Really excited to see this one. They've played, I know, in past seasons. It's usually late in the tournament kind of thing. They both have one loss. Virginia, of course, being upset by San Francisco, and Villanova being upset by Virginia Tech. So it's kind of both upset losses, but they both started the season, I think, top 5. I think Virginia was 3 and Villanova was 4. So this one's going to be awesome. I think they're probably both better than the rankings that they have next to their name, especially Virginia down there at 17. But really excited to see this one. Any thoughts from any of you?
Yeah, you talk about a game that's really based on fundamentals and defense. Villanova and Virginia, those teams are really the epitome of that. They play tough, hard-nosed basketball. They'll get their 4 and 5 stars, so they'll get their star players, but they really play a team game, and it's really a 1 through 7. They don't run super deep rotations, but all 7 guys will play, and they all need to contribute off the bench, whether it's starting, scoring, passing the ball, taking a charge here or there. They really play team basketball, and they require a lot out of their players on both ends of the floor.
Great coaching too. That's just the intangibles right there. 2 of the best coaches in college basketball. So just really excited to see this one. Some quality non-cons this year. So we're just lucky to see, with all that's going on, just some quality basketball. Sometimes I like the non-cons more than the conference games because you get to see matchups like this.
Awesome. And then we'll move on to my parlay. Please let me know at the end if you disagree with them like you usually do, EJ.
I disagree with that.
Okay, that's what I thought. So first up, I had Iowa State plus 5.5 against Oklahoma. We already talked about this game. I almost wanted to take Iowa State money line, but I'd be really mad at myself if Oklahoma ended up winning by 3.
Do it.
No, I'm not doing it. And then Notre Dame plus 10 against Clemson. I think this Nick. I know Nick doesn't agree with me on that one, but
I mean, if it's plus 10.5, I'll take it. Plus 10, no. I think Notre Dame loses this game by 10 points.
Well, then you agree. Vegas.
Yeah.
Chiefs minus 3.5 against the Saints. Drew Brees is back, but hasn't played in a while, and the Chiefs are way too good. Packers minus 8.5 against the Panthers. I don't want to admit it, but I have to respect the Packers and Aaron Rodgers in that amazing stat line. I just wish we had a quarterback like that and wasn't paying Kirk Cousins $84 million.
I'm so happy you're paying him that much money for that many years.
Yeah,
I just wish we had a quarterback.
Yeah, Bears. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah,
that's got to be rough too. But that part, if I win that parlay, it's plus 13.58. That means it's $1 to win $13.58. Any disagreements there?
I actually like that. I'm going to give you credit. I want to hear a go Pack go from you though.
I can't say that. I already said Iowa State's a good football team, so I can't say too much tonight.
So just wanted to wrap things up. I wanted to thank Nick for so much for coming on the show. It was great to chat with you again. And everyone give Nick a follow on Twitter at NT2697. He's a great follow if you want to, if you just want to follow a cool guy. He's a Cubs fan, so that kind of sucks.
Thanks.
But not everyone can be a Brewers fan. So
Let's go.
so thank you all so much for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. Going to talk some awesome games coming up. And it was absolutely for sure a really good time. So thank you. And
I got one more thing.
Alex has one more thing. Go.
Thanks for Giannis re-signing with the Bucks.
Yes.
Staying in Milwaukee. Love
Thanks
to
for
see
the ball sucking.
So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.